Hi everybody, welcome to Speedway Motors. My name's Tim. I'm one of our techs here, and if you tune into some of my other videos, you know I love talking about old Ford parts. But today I'm going to deviate a little bit, and I'm going to talk about some GM muscle car stuff from the 60s. If you're like me, you love a nicely restored muscle car. You go to the show, you see this car get driven in, and it looks better than it probably looked when it was driven off the showroom floor in the 60s. Somebody's done that nice of a job restoring this thing. You look at the outside, everything's just right to the T, right down to the T3 headlights. But then you look inside and somebody's replaced the stock steering wheel with something that looks like it came off the discount rack at the local parts store. I don't know about you, but it always kind of bothers me a little bit, but I can understand it too, because original steering wheels are really hard to find. You know, after 40 years of being out in the weather and elements and sunlight and all the UV rays, these things get cracked up and dulled down, and it's hard to find a nice one. I brought a couple steering wheels with me today that are some replica reproductions of stock GM steering wheels from the 60s. I grew up just down the street from a guy. My dad would bring me down to his garage all the time. He was restoring a 67 Corvette 427 tri-power car, about as cool as you can get. And of course, I'll never forget sitting in this thing. And maybe that's why I love these steering wheels so much, is it brings back some neat memories. But I sat in this car and I put my hand on the steering wheel, and it was a wheel just like this. Of course, this wheel would have come in a lot of the early Corvettes, you know, 60s Vettes up to 67, but then it also was sold in some Camaros. They also work on Novas and Chevelles, but it's a really great design. When you look at it, it kind of looks reminiscent of something that would have been in like an old vintage sports car, like a Ferrari or something, with the bare metal center and the wood grain outside. Of course, the wheels I brought with me today are a simulated wood grain. They're made out of plastic, but you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at it. They do a really nice job. I actually have scoured swap meets over the years for these original wheels, and they're really hard to find. Again, usually they're cracked, weather checked, you know, really nasty. Every now and again you'll find a nice one. I have one right now in a 70 Nova that I like to drive around. I used a 67 Corvette horn button with the cross flag, so when I'm driving this thing I feel like I'm the king of the world. But at any rate, it's a really, really nice design. It feels good on your hands. Best of all, when OER reproduced these wheels, they're indistinguishable from the originals. I can put this side by side with the one on my 70 Nova right now, and I can't tell a difference. I mean, it's that nice. They've done a very, very good job, right down to the brush work on the spokes. So you definitely get your money's worth. You get a wheel that looks excellent. I don't think there's a better looking wheel in an old muscle car for sure. I wanted to bring a couple examples along with me. This would be like a 67 and 68 version wheel, and then I also brought a 69 and 70, and you can see a little bit of a difference here. Actually, the later version wheel is a little bit shallower by about an inch. So, you know, if you have a car, you know, that you'd like a little bit less depth on the wheel, you could sure use the later version. The bolt circles are exactly the same. And the good news is we sell these either as the individual steering wheel itself, if you already have a hub, or if you've sourced a hub, you know, out somewhere at a swap meet or whatnot, an original unit, then, you know, you can just get the wheel. Maybe you have an old car that had one of these and it's just cracked up and you just need the wheel only, so this works out pretty well. The other way we have it, however, is we have it as a complete kit. So not only do you get the steering wheel, you get the hub, you get the horn mechanism, and then you get the center horn button too. So it'll match exactly what it would have looked like coming out of the factory. Just a little note on the hub. The hub's a pretty neat piece. You may find these around if you're out scouring. There are a couple differences. I should point that out. The 67 and later had a cutaway, and the reason that it had that is because after 67, they started making these center spokes as a two-piece design, and there's a little bit of a step here that you have to clear with the hub. So I've seen guys grind away an earlier hub or use spacers to try to make this work on a hub that it wasn't intended for, but it's really a slick thing that these new hubs are available. Another note on the hub is that it's spline for early GM, so that spline has been around a long, long time. I've had these wheels on, you know, C10 Chevy pickups. They obviously look real great. You don't have to do anything to your column. You just take your old wheel off and put this one on. The other cool thing about this is it will work on an I Did It column. It'll work on anything with that GM spline. So, you know, as you can see, not only is it a great looking wheel, but it's easy to put on a lot of different applications. So, of course, if you run into questions on these, obviously I'm probably not answering everything with this video. That's why we have a great tech staff on hand. Give us a call. We're more than happy to walk you through whatever you need. You know, we've got a great group of guys and that's their job. So always appreciate you visiting us here Tuesdays with Tim at Speedway Motors. Look at our website, speedwaymotors.com, or give us a call. We're always happy to help you out.